On this episode of 10 and 10,
the wish I would offer to all humans would be chances to practice about mindfulness, because it is this gift that serves you so well in building your resilience. And when you have that strength and resilience, you're going to just go out happier and have that positive well-being in the world.
Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for being with us today. We're excited to talk with you about all things mindfulness and resiliency. Before we get started, could you please tell us a little bit more about you and your work?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Alexis. I'm excited about this interview. Yeah, so I am a psychologist and I work at OSU Cascades in the Human Development Family Science Department. I've been there about 18 years. And the classes that I am most passionate about currently are the critical thinking courses that I teach, and which have a lot of social justice focus, and then well-being courses.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. Let's go ahead and jump into the questions here. So just so that we're all clear, can you tell us what does it mean to be resilient?
Sure. So I would name resilience as being able to overcome obstacles and challenges, and kind of like being able to bounce back from difficulties. And all humans are going to have challenges. Life is not easy. Life just has hardship as part of the human experience. So if we have skills that help us be able to manage when those hard times come up, it's a really big benefit. And that's what creates resilience in folks.
Next question, how do you practice resiliency?
Being able to practice resilience and the mindfulness piece of resilience in particular, is something that is really exciting for me, because it's really about being able to build new neural pathways. So that's that term neuroplasticity, which I think of as like the most optimistic word there is, because it means that even as adults, we can continue to build new pathways in our brain towards the skills that we want to grow and develop. And so for me, my mindfulness practice includes, number one, getting to do continued learning. That's just a really important piece of the puzzle for me. And then I meditate most days, sometimes just a few minutes, sometimes up to an hour. I take care of my body. So sleep well, eat well, and take a walk in nature every day. That's something that really grounds me. And then the final piece that's kind of the typical part of my mindfulness program is a gratitude journal.
You're currently teaching a course that's designed to help community members and students better cope during trying times. Can you tell us more about it and how the course came about?
Last year, when the pandemic hit, I was really aware that, okay, all over the world, we are experiencing stressors that we may never have experienced before. And even though sometimes those stressors were quite individual or unique, there were a lot of pieces that we could all relate to. So I spoke with my program lead and just said, I'd love to be able to offer a class that's short and practice oriented, so that we get to practice in community different kinds of mindfulness practices, and then folks can take those with them out to the world and see what fits for them and what doesn't. We're all in this together, right? This has been hard for everybody, and everybody could benefit from some of these skills. And that's been kind of fun too, because this is the first course on our OSU Cascades campus, which is available to main campus as well, because it's a Zoom course. But it's the first course that combines having both community students and OSU students, and that's been a fun combination.
Research shows that resiliency is in all of us as long as we nurture it. What are some ways that we can nurture it at home and at work?
I think of mindfulness skills as kind of superpowers. It's like these things that we can hone, and then we can take them with us out into the world. And the cool thing is that we can practice sometimes just for 30 seconds if we want to, or for a longer period of time. So it's easy for us to take them, like you said, to the workplace or home or anywhere we're at. So the first one is what I would say is kind of like a wider perspective and how we look at the world. Sometimes I name it as having a balcony view. So you know how when we're walking through the world, we're seeing things through, our own lens, and things impact us really personally sometimes. It can be beneficial for us to be able to step out a little bit and imagine ourselves kind of like as if we were up on the balcony of the theater looking out rather than being the player on the stage, and being able to notice. And when we do that, sometimes we have more freedom, like there's a little bit more ease or freedom that happens. Another superpower is, it has some similarities, is being able to take a pause, like having a space between when something comes our way and how we react to it. So I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but I totally have had the moments where something's activated me and I have like an immediate response. And so sometimes with mindfulness, there's an opportunity to give yourself that little pause that you need to be able to respond in a way that's more responsive and more responsible rather than that first quick reaction. Another one is knowing where we can put our attention or focus. I don't think sometimes we realize that it's actually choice where we choose to attend. Do we want to put more of our focus on the places where we're frustrated or disgruntled or hurt or sad? Or do we want to sometimes make choices to move our attention and our awareness towards something that we really like or that's going well for us? The very last one I wanted to squeeze in was to say the superpower of being more grounded. So when something comes up, can you pause, like we talked about just a minute ago, and ground yourself, like feel your feet on the floor, feel that there's stability and structure and resource available to you.
Why is self care an important factor in relation to resiliency?
Yeah, it's so important. And I'm so glad you included this question because our self care serves many purposes. When we're feeling good, we're better able to go out there in the world and demonstrate that resilience. So it's kind of like the metaphor they'll talk about putting your oxygen mask on in the plane before you go to try to help someone else put their oxygen mask on. If you are caring for yourself, that is not a selfish act. It's valuable to support yourself, but it also then in turn helps you be more open and kind and generous with others.
So, what is one of your favorite mindfulness exercises?
But I would offer to folks just starting out that one of the first things is allowing ourselves to have a few slower breaths, where we have slower, kind of deeper breaths, and where our exhale extends a little longer than the inhale. As we do that, we're telling our body that everything's okay in this moment and that it's okay to slow down for a moment. And then notice your body, because when you're with your body and noticing your body, you're probably not so busy in your thinking space anymore. You've kind of brought your awareness into your body.
So, what are some ways that we can help children practice mindfulness and resiliency?
One of my passions would be, can we bring mindfulness to the whole world? And if we could give it to kids first, then they get to take that with them everywhere, and how that supports our entire culture when that happens. So for little ones, being aware of breath can be fun for them. Even having your hand in front of your face and noticing the exhale. I think that's kind of cool for kids because it also incorporates their hand. So again, it's bringing their more of their body into. Another one that's precious for families is something called rose, thorn, bud. And it's kind of like a sharing that can happen around the table or where you're driving together, where each member can share a little bit about something that's lovely right now that you're delighting in, or that, a success or an excitement. A thorn might be a challenge or something that's feeling difficult, or maybe something that you might want a little support in. And the bud is something that's fresh and new, that you're not sure what will happen or that you are anticipating. But when you share about that, you're helping the kids have that self-reflection, which is a piece of mindfulness. Of all those things, a really important step is that parents are modeling mindfulness. Because if it's not happening with parents, it would be hard for kids to be able to do it.
Can you talk about the positive relationship between mindfulness and social justice work?
Yeah, that's a part that gets really exciting for me. It makes me feel good to know that each of us as individuals can take care of ourselves with these mindful techniques, but then the ripple effect is incredible. We're part of a culture, we're part of a community. And what I think is one of the issues that's coming up for us is that it's hard for us as humans to be with what's uncomfortable. In an effort to protect ourselves, we're actually kind of unconsciously choosing to not see the world as it really is, because it threatens us in some way. And so this idea of practicing mindfulness and being able to be with discomfort allows us then to actually be with things just as they are. And so when we practice being able to be with the yucky stuff, then we can be willing to see the world as it really is, which is the first step towards making change. And also we can have other people come and say to us, hey, I need you to know that what you did, that didn't, that was actually harmful, or that hurt. Um, or you may not realize it, but that was implicit bias, and I need to tell you why. And so when we're told those things, it's hard to hear that stuff. That feedback is hard. But if we've got these different mindful skills in place and we are resourced, we can actually remain present and grow and learn from seeing what's the real world around us, and seeing our own and receiving feedback and being able to make changes on that personal level.
So, do you have any suggestions for those who are interested in pursuing a similar career to yours?
Mindfulness at this point is something that fits with almost every career that's out there. It feels to me like one of those foundational pieces of learning right now. So if you are going to go into the workplace, like if you're a manager someplace, knowing some mindfulness techniques would be valuable. You could do this in the schools at this point. You could take this, in basically any setting, certainly within the human development family science program, taking it as a psychologist or as a coach. So what I would just say is that the field of mindfulness, I think, is just wildly expanding.
So, if someone wants to learn more about mindfulness, resiliency, or mental health, what resources would you recommend?
Yeah, so I'm really grateful that OSU students on main campus and on our campus have a lot of access to education and being able to go see a counselor right now on Zoom. And so going to the resources on the websites on our campus and on the main campus is number one for practicing mental health. In fact, I know on our campus, one of the links is a listing of different mindfulness apps that are available. What I think is most important with mindfulness is finding the practices that fit for you personally and tossing the others aside. Don't worry if you don't want to watch your breath for days on end. Find what it is that does fit for you and do those things. So that's why I think apps are useful, because you can try so many different practices and see what you like and what you don't like.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Laura. You taught me so much, and I know you taught the people viewing this so much. We have a lot of homework to do for mindfulness and resiliency. So thank you very much for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. It was really fun to get to talk with you, Alexis. I appreciate it.